So if you are ready to break into the online space, make money online, and you want to be a social media manager, I'm going to walk you through step by step exactly what you need to do and how to become a highly paid social media manager this year. Simply put, social media management it's had a big impact on my life. Okay, I graduated college not having a job lined up, and the work I went into was social media management. So pretty much anything I've achieved since then, whether it's buying this villa or buying a second property in Ireland, all of these things really only came from the fact that I saw social media management as a business online, did my research, and decided I was going to go for it. Now, there are a lot of misconceptions about social media management, okay? What it is, what exactly you do, and ultimately how much you can make with it. So I'm going to walk you through in this video, first, the 3 main routes you can take as a social media manager. Okay, just being a social media manager, it's not a one size fits all. There's actually 3 very different, very distinct ways of doing it. And these 3 ways you need to understand, because way 1 is going to make sense for you based on certain criteria, but for another person, route 2 is going to be way better. All right, so stick with me. Let me walk you through the 3 routes, and from that you will be able to choose very easily which of those is the best for you. The first route, really the most common way that most people get into social media management, is the freelance route. Okay, this is you being the social media manager. So how this works is you find businesses online that need a social media manager. Let's say a business is going to pay you $1,000 per month. You're going to manage their Instagram page, posting once a day on their Instagram feed, and maybe a couple of Instagram stories per day. Well, you negotiate with the clients, you onboard the client, you set the strategy for the client, you build out the content calendar, you create the content, you post the content, you do everything. Okay, so this specific route is really ideal for those of you that know all the intricacies. Like, if I was to give you my Instagram page today, like, you would know what to do. You'd know how to handle it. You'd know what to post on my page, and you'd feel confident doing that. Okay, so that could make very, very much sense for you. The second thing is profit potential. So this kind of route, of course, has high profits because you do everything. All right, in theory, every dollar you make should be a dollar you keep. You might have a couple of expenses here and there for softwares, but apart from that, it's pretty much a 100% profit margin business. However, that does not necessarily mean that you will make more profit with this route. You make 100% profit, but you are limited by your time, right? Because if you're going to manage my social media to the fullest extent, you're not going to be able to do that for 20 people. Let's be real, okay? You might only be able to handle 4-5 clients. And that's if you have a lot of time each day. If you only have maybe an hour or 2 a day to put into this, you probably might work with 1 or 2 clients. Okay, so your profit potential, if again you're working 1 to 2 hours a day, maybe 1 to 2K per month. If you're doing this full time, or maybe 4 to 6 hours a day, then getting to maybe 5K a month is very realistic. Maybe getting towards 10K a month might be possible if you have a lot of time, but it's not so common. So if you want to learn the ropes and you have a good understanding and you're pretty confident in being able to do social media management already, then this is a very easy way to get in. I did this before I built my marketing agency. So I did this as a freelancer for a couple of clients. Nothing crazy, and they weren't that high paying, but it, again, showed me what to do, the things to look out for, and really the key thing was if it was for me long term, which I decided it wasn't. I did it for a couple of months, learned a lot, and realized that there was definitely a better option for me, which is where we move on to route number 2. So route number 2 is what we call the hybrid agency route. Okay, I'm going to walk you through the difference here between this and the freelance route. So the freelance route, again, is you doing everything. You sign the client, you deliver to the client, it's all you. The hybrid approach is where you still do quite a lot of the work, but you engage other people to do some of it. I'm going to walk you through a very easy to understand example. I'm going to take my student within my program, Sean. Okay, now he's gone and done this really well. Him and his business partner have gotten 7 clients for social media management and content creation in 2 months. And I actually have an interview with him on YouTube. You can watch that. It's really, really valuable. So Sean and James, his business partner, when they get clients, they set the strategy, They build out the content calendar, the content ideas, really just the whole plan they do, okay? Now, what they don't do is actually creating the content. You see, the two of them realized two things. They realized, number one, we're not graphic designers, we're not video editors. So we could pretend and we could try and learn, but that's gonna take way too much time, right? Second, we want to scale. These guys have big goals. Like, they don't want to have 5 to 10 clients. They want to be having 10K a month, 20K a month in revenue in the business coming in. And they want to travel. They want to live like a really, a real kind of like business owner lifestyle, right? So what they've done and what I helped them do is I essentially connected them with a graphic designer that is from my team. So it essentially meant they could hire somebody trusted and vetted. And so this person is going to create the content and is currently, for the clients they have, creating content for them. So when Sean, let's say, gets a client, he onboards the client, he goes through the strategy, gives that strategy to the client. If the client's happy with it, he then gives that strategy to his graphic designer, and his graphic designer creates the actual content. Sean then still manages their social media page and posts the content out on the social media for the business. But that key piece, the content creation, which, to be honest, does take the most time, he's outsourcing. And so for Sean and James doing this, it still means that their profit is really high. Their profit margin may be around 80, 85%. There are cases where people do this and it's 90%. For example, my very first client for my social media marketing agency, because how I started was did a little bit of freelance work for a couple of months after college, realized that wasn't for me. I wanted to make more money, have a bit more freedom, more time freedom, location freedom, and hence then saw the agency kind of hybrid model and said, wow, that's for me. So my very first client paid $1,200 per month. They paid for one post a day on their Instagram and then daily stories and just engaging with people on their page. Okay. I followed the hybrid route to get things kick started. Okay. I hired a graphic designer. I was paying $5 per graphic. So if you do the maths, $5 times 30 pieces per month is $150. So they were paying $1,200, take away 150, leaves us with 1,050 as my profit, which if you do the maths on that, that works out, I've just checked here, 87.5%. So almost 90%. So I'm still using some of my time each day to serve this client, but the bulk of the work, the thing that takes the most time and the thing that would take me a long time to get good at is the actual content creation. So for most people that I work with inside of my mentorship, they follow this route because most people are not graphic designers, they're not video editors, they're not very confident in that. And quite frankly, they don't want to learn it because they know they want to have a business where there are other people involved, where they do some work. That gives you more scalability, and in the long run, it gives you a lot higher profits. For example, another student of mine, Amanda, she scaled past 20,000 per month with this type of model. Okay, so that obviously gave her really high profit margins, but also that scalability. Now, the last route is the full agency route. Okay, I have an example of one of my students, Harry, who I also have an interview with. Amanda, who I previously mentioned, I also have an interview with as well. So you can check out Sean, Amanda, and of course, Harry as well. So Harry runs the full agency model, which for me personally, I moved into the full agency model probably within 3 or 6 months of starting my agency. Because as you can imagine, me serving clients, fully doing everything, having my graphic designer support me with content still meant that I was limited with how many clients I could take on. There, of course, was a cap. There was a limit. I couldn't work all day just logged into Instagram pages. So that's when we transitioned to the agency route. Now, the key difference with the agency route is getting people in place at every stage of the journey. For example, with Harry, when he gets a new client, he takes the initial call and he does speak to the client on the front end before they become a client. But after that, pretty much everything is done by his team and by systems. Okay, so it means for him, it's very much it's kind of like this conveyor belt, it's kind of a push button solution. Client comes in and pays, boom, everything else kicks off from there. So he's got graphic designers, he's got video editors, he's got copywriters, he's got social media managers, people actually managing the social media pages as well. So this route is going to give you, of course, less of a profit margin. For example, 60, 70% is more realistic with this model. But if you're trying to scale to 30, 40, 50,000 per month, like my agency got to, then this model is necessary. You're not going to get to 50,000 per month with the first two routes. It's really not going to happen. So this is really the ultimate route for somebody that wants to have pure like time freedom and financial freedom, but it's more complex. Okay, so typically most people we work with start with either the freelance route or the hybrid route. The hybrid route is more common for our students that we work with because they might necessarily be skilled in the content creation areas already, like video and graphic. So normally you start with one of those and then you move to the full agency model when you've got the proof, you've got clients on board, and you kind of have that clear vision of where you want to go with this in the long run. So I made this video because to become a social media manager, you have to define which route you're going to take first. Okay, once you've done that, of course, you can move on to the tactical steps of actually getting clients, understanding how to deliver a great service for them. But skip this piece that we've just covered, and the rest is pretty much irrelevant. You could start with the freelance route, but not really actually have planned that, just kind of fell into it, and then build a business that you absolutely hate. Okay, so the goal here is that you build something that you love, something that's sustainable, and something that can last years. I hope this gave you value. If you want to watch those interviews I mentioned, check my channel. There's plenty of them there. And if you want any help doing this yourself, I do offer mentorship. You can see details of that in the description of this video. Talk to you soon.